The Deep Space Monitoring Station hummed quietly as Officer Green stared at his scanner screen. Nothing interesting had happened in the last 3 cycles, and he was starting to doze off when a sharp alarm jolted him awake. A bright dot appeared on his screen, moving in a way he had never seen before. "Control, this is Station 7, Green called out, his forefingers trembling slightly as they danced across the control panel. "We have an unknown ship entering Sector 4. Energy readings are strange." The ship's energy signature didn't match anything in their database. It pulsed with an odd rhythm, almost like a heartbeat, strong and steady. As Green watched, the vessel adjusted its course with impossible smoothness, its movements more fluid than any ship he had ever tracked. "Station 7, maintain observation. Defensive systems are now active," Control responded. Throughout the station, ancient weapons stirred to life, their targeting systems locking onto the approaching vessel. The strange ship slowed down and came to a stop just outside the station's defensive perimeter. It was beautiful in an alien way, sleek yet sturdy, with bold lines that spoke of both power and precision. The hull gleamed with a metallic sheen that seemed to shift colors under the starlight. A transmission request lit up Green's console. After getting approval from Control, he opened the channel. A calm, steady voice filled the command center. "This is Commander Reed of the Earth vessel Thunderchild. We come in peace and seek diplomatic contact with your civilization." The words were clear, but they made Green's spine tingle. Earth. The database had no record of such a place, and the universal translator was struggling with some of the nuances in the transmission, suggesting this species had concepts that didn't quite match known galactic standards. Control took over the communication. "Unknown vessel, you have entered restricted space. Your design and energy signature are not recognized. Please power down your systems and prepare for inspection." There was a pause before Commander Reed responded. "We understand your caution. However, our ship's systems must remain active for life support. We are willing to share our technical specifications and demonstrate our peaceful intentions." The exchange might have ended there, with a peaceful first contact. But at that moment, the station's automated defense systems detected something that set off all their warning protocols. The Thunderchild's power core was running hot, far hotter than any known safe reactor design. To the automated systems, this could only mean one thing: a weapon preparing to fire. Warning lights flashed across every screen. The station's ancient defensive programming took control, designed to respond to any potential threat without hesitation. Before anyone could react, the automated systems launched a warning shot, a burst of energy that passed close to the Thunderchild's bow. Green watched in horror as the human ship's reaction defied everything he knew about space combat. Instead of raising shields or powering weapons, the Thunderchild performed a maneuver that should have been impossible. It moved sideways, somehow maintaining its original orientation, as if the laws of inertia were merely suggestions. "Station, we understand this is a misunderstanding." Reed's voice came through again, still remarkably calm. "We can explain our ship's design. Our reactor operates on principles that may be unfamiliar to you, but I assure you it's not a weapon." But the automated systems were already escalating their response. More defense platforms were powering up, their targeting systems painting the Thunderchild with deadly attention. Green could only watch as the situation spiraled out of control. The human ship's response was fascinating. It didn't flee or attack. Instead, it maintained its position while adjusting its energy emissions, trying to appear less threatening. Green could see the ship's crew was doing everything possible to prevent conflict. Final warning. The automated defense system announced, "Power down or be fired upon." Commander Reed's response was firm but still diplomatic. "We cannot comply with powering down, as it would endanger my crew. We will withdraw to a safe distance to continue this discussion." The Thunderchild began to move backward, maintaining its defensive posture while keeping its weapons powered down. It was a display of both technical skill and restraint that impressed even the worried station crew. But the automated systems had already classified the vessel as a threat. As the human ship withdrew, every warning system in the station blazed with a single message. Warning. Unidentified warship approaching. It's human and dangerous. Admiral Stone paced in the Council's emergency chamber, his scaled tail twitching with agitation. The holographic display showed the Thunderchild holding position just beyond their defense grid. Reports from dozens of analysts scrolled across the screens, each more alarming than the last. "What do you mean, they're from a death world?" he demanded, looking at the chief scientist who nervously adjusted her sensing organs. "The data is clear, Admiral," she replied, pulling up a new display. "Their body structure, their ship design, everything points to a species that evolved on a planet we would classify as extremely hostile. High gravity, intense radiation, severe temperature swings, aggressive predators." The Admiral's scales darkened with concern, and they survived all that. Not just survived, they thrived. The scientist's voice held a mix of fear and fascination. "Their ship's design shows signs of innovations we've never considered. They've somehow managed to combine multiple technologies in ways our engineers thought impossible." On the main screen, the Thunderchild remained perfectly still. Its hull seemed to absorb sensor scans rather than reflect them, making detailed analysis difficult. The ship's energy readings continued to puzzle the Council's best experts. "They must be contained," Admiral Stone decided. "No species this dangerous can be allowed to freely enter Council space." He turned to his communications officer. "Send the message. They have one chance to surrender and submit to full containment protocols." The human response came quickly. Commander Reed's voice filled the chamber, still maintaining its diplomatic tone despite the growing tension. "Admiral, we understand your concerns, but we cannot and will not submit to containment. We suggest a peaceful discussion about mutual recognition and cooperation." The Admiral's tail lashed in frustration. These humans didn't seem to understand their position. He ordered 3 more warships to move into position around the Thunderchild. The human vessel was now surrounded by enough firepower to destroy a small moon. What happened next stunned everyone in the chamber. The Thunderchild's energy signature suddenly changed. Not in a way that suggested weapons charging, but rather in a pattern that made it practically invisible to standard scanners. The ship hadn't moved, hadn't attacked. It had simply adapted its systems in real time to counter the Council's targeting technology. "Impossible," the chief scientist whispered. "They figured out our sensor frequencies that quickly." Admiral Stone felt his scales ripple with unease. The containment fleet reported that their targeting systems were having trouble maintaining locks on the human vessel. Somehow, the Thunderchild was using the Council's own scanning beams to create interference patterns. "Their ship," the scientist continued, her voice filled with wonder, "it's not just one technology. They've taken pieces from at least 5 different technical approaches and merged them together. The power core uses principles we've only theorized about. The hull seems to be some kind of adaptive material that—" "Enough." The Admiral cut her off. "I don't care how clever they are. They're still just one ship against 4 of ours." He turned to his tactical officer. "Prepare to fire warning shots. Let's see how they handle real pressure." The Council ships fired, carefully calculated shots that would pass just close enough to demonstrate their superior position. But the Thunderchild's response left them all speechless. Instead of dodging or raising shields, the ship somehow absorbed the energy from the near misses, its hull briefly glowing with the captured power. "Admiral," the scientist said quietly, "I don't think we're dealing with just another spacefaring race. These humans, they've turned their hostile evolution into an advantage. Every challenge they faced on their homeworld taught them to adapt, to innovate, to survive." On the screen, Commander Reed's ship maintained its position, neither advancing nor retreating. Its very presence seemed to challenge the Council's assumptions about how a cornered ship should behave. "Last chance, human vessel," Admiral Stone transmitted. "Submit or face the consequences." Reed's response was calm but firm. "Admiral, we don't wish to fight. But if you force this confrontation, you should understand something. Humans don't just survive challenges. We learn from them. Every obstacle makes us stronger. Every threat teaches us something new. Are you sure you want to become our latest teacher?" The Admiral stared at the screen, his scales now a deep shade of concern. For the first time in his long career, he faced an enemy that didn't follow any of the rules he understood. The warning labels flashing across his screen suddenly seemed inadequate. This human ship wasn't just dangerous because of its weapons or technology. It was dangerous because it represented something the Council had never encountered before, a species that turned adversity itself into an advantage. The first shot came without warning. Admiral Stone had finally lost patience, and one of his ships launched a full power blast at the Thunderchild. The human vessel's response changed everything the Council thought they knew about space combat. Instead of raising shields or trying to dodge, the Thunderchild's hull seemed to flow like liquid metal. The energy beam struck the ship, but rather than causing damage, it created a rippling pattern across the surface. The beam's power disappeared, absorbed completely into the strange material. In the Council's emergency chamber, the chief scientist's instruments were going crazy. "Admiral, they're using our own weapon energy to power their systems. The hull isn't just armor, it's a power collection system." Commander Reed's voice came through, still steady but now carrying a note of resignation. "We warned you, Admiral. We didn't want to demonstrate our full capabilities, but you've left us no choice." The Thunderchild's surface began to glow with the stored energy from the attack. But instead of using it as a weapon, the ship channeled it into its engines in a way that defied the Council's understanding of physics. The human vessel moved with impossible speed, darting between the Council ships before they could track it. "How are they doing this?" Admiral Stone demanded, his scales now pale with shock. "No ship can move like that." The chief scientist was practically dancing with excitement despite the tension. "They're using multiple technologies together. Look, they've combined magnetic field manipulation with gravity wave generation. They're not just moving through space, they're bending space around them." The Council ships tried to maintain their formation, but the Thunderchild's movements made their standard tactics useless. The human ship wasn't just faster, it was using the space between the Council vessels as a weapon. Every time they tried to target it, their shots passed through empty space, sometimes nearly hitting their own ships. "Admiral," Reed's voice came through again, "what you're seeing is just one example of human ingenuity. We took the basic principles of space travel that every species discovers and ask ourselves, what if we combined them in ways no one has tried before? What if we stopped treating space combat as a simple exchange of energy weapons?" As if to demonstrate, the Thunderchild suddenly released some of its stored energy, not as a weapon, but as a complex pattern of radiation that played havoc with the Council ship's sensors. Their targeting systems went blind, communication between ships became garbled, and their formation began to break apart in confusion. The chief scientist couldn't contain her amazement. Their ship, it's not just a warship. It's a research vessel, a power plant, and a technology test bed all in one. They've taken every piece of standard space technology and reimagined its purpose. The Thunderchild moved through the chaos it had created with precise control. It passed close enough to one of the Council ships for them to get their first clear scan of its hull structure. The readings left the Council's engineers speechless. "The entire ship is made of smart materials," the chief scientist reported, her voice filled with wonder. "Every part can change its properties in response to different situations. The hull can become energy absorbent or reflective, rigid or fluid, conductive or insulating. They've turned the whole ship into one integrated system." Admiral Stone watched as his carefully planned containment operation fell apart. The Thunderchild hadn't fired a single shot, yet it had rendered his ships practically helpless. Traditional weapons were useless against a vessel that could absorb and redirect energy. Standard tactics meant nothing to a ship that could move in ways that ignored normal laws of physics. Commander Reed transmitted one final message. Admiral, we understand that what we represent frightens you. Humans have always pushed the boundaries of what's possible. We take ideas that others think are completely separate and find ways to make them work together. We don't just use technology. We reimagine it, rebuild it, combine it in ways that its original creators never considered. That's what makes us dangerous. Not our weapons, but our endless drive to find new solutions to old problems. The Admiral stared at his tactical display, watching the Thunderchild dance between his ships like a creature from ancient legends. The warning labels still flashed across his screens, but now they seemed almost laughably inadequate. This human ship wasn't dangerous because it was powerful. It was dangerous because it represented something the Council had never prepared for. A species that didn't just master technology, but transformed it into something entirely new. The Thunderchild moved deeper into Council space, with Admiral Stone's ships in close pursuit. But this was no ordinary chase. The human vessel wasn't simply running away. It was studying, learning, and adapting with every light year. Inside the Council's command ship, tactical officers watched in growing frustration as the Thunderchild did something unprecedented. The human ship was using the Council's own navigation beacons to create a complex interference pattern, making tracking nearly impossible. "They're not just reading our beacon network," the chief scientist reported, her voice mixing awe with concern. "They're actually reprogramming the beacons as they pass them. Each beacon is now broadcasting a slightly modified signal that creates a cascade of false readings." Admiral Stone slammed his fist on the command console. "How can they understand our beacon technology so quickly? Those systems are encrypted." "Sir," a young officer spoke up, "they're not breaking the encryption. They're playing with it, like someone who doesn't need to understand the words in a book to appreciate how the pages can be used to make shapes." The Thunderchild approached a dense asteroid field, and what happened next left even the most experienced Council pilots speechless. Instead of going around the field, as any sane crew would do, the human ship dove straight in. But they weren't just navigating through the asteroids. They were using them. The chief scientist's instruments revealed the incredible truth. They're using their ship's energy field to attract and repel the asteroids. They're not just avoiding them. They're conducting them like some kind of cosmic orchestra. Behind the Thunderchild, a wave of asteroids moved in complex patterns, creating a constantly shifting maze that the Council ships had to navigate. Each time they thought they had a clear path to their target, the pattern would change, forcing them to retreat or risk collision. Commander Reed's voice came through their comms, sounding almost apologetic. "We notice you're having trouble with the asteroids. On Earth, we have a game called chess. It teaches you to think several moves ahead. When you live on a world that constantly tries to kill you, you learn to turn every obstacle into an opportunity." The Council ships pressed forward, but the humans had another surprise waiting. The Thunderchild released a series of small, seemingly harmless devices into space. The Council's sensors identified them as simple maintenance drones, not weapons, so they ignored them. That was their mistake. "Admiral," the tactical officer shouted, "those drones, they're not attacking us, but they're reconfiguring themselves into some kind of sensor network. They're using our own scan attempts to build a map of our blind spots." The Thunderchild used this improvised network to execute maneuvers that seemed to defy physics. The human ship could now predict exactly where the Council's sensor coverage was weakest and move through those gaps like a ghost. In the command center, the chief scientist was recording everything, her excitement overwhelming her fear. "Do you see what they're doing? They're not just running away. They're turning this entire sector of space into one giant laboratory. Every tactic we try teaches them something new about our technology, our strategies, our limitations." Admiral Stone watched as his pursuit fleet struggled to keep up with a single human vessel that seemed to be rewriting the rules of space combat with every passing moment. The Thunderchild wasn't using any weapons they could recognize. Instead, it was turning everything around it into a tool. The navigation beacons, the asteroids, even the empty space itself. "Sir," the tactical officer reported, "we're picking up unusual energy readings from the human ship. They seem to be. Sir, they're somehow using the radiation from our engines to mask their own energy signature. The more power we use to chase them, the harder they become to track." Commander Reed's voice came through once more. "Admiral, you should understand something about humans. We evolved on a world that presented us with countless ways to die. We survived not by being the strongest or the fastest, but by learning to use everything around us in ways nothing else had imagined. Right now, you're not just chasing one ship. You're chasing the condensed ingenuity of a species that turned survival itself into an art form." The Admiral stared at his tactical display, watching as the Thunderchild continued to dance through his forces, using their own technology against them in ways they had never imagined possible. The warning about human danger no longer seemed adequate. They weren't dangerous because they were hostile. They were dangerous because they could turn anything, literally anything, into an advantage. While the Thunderchild led the Council fleet on an impossible chase, their communication experts made a breakthrough. The human ship's data broadcasts contained more than just tactical information. They held historical records, cultural documents, and something the Council had never seen before: entertainment media. The chief scientist burst into Admiral Stone's command center, her sensing organs practically glowing with excitement. "Admiral, you need to see this. We've decoded their information banks. And, well, you won't believe what we found." The main screen filled with images from Earth's history. The Council leaders watched in stunned silence as they saw humans survive and thrive through ice ages, plagues, natural disasters, and countless wars. But what shocked them most wasn't the conflicts. It was what came after them. "Look at this." The scientist pointed to a series of recordings. "These humans fought their greatest war, something they called World War II. The destruction was beyond anything we've seen. But afterward, the winning side didn't destroy their enemies. They helped rebuild them." Admiral Stone's scales shifted color in confusion. "That makes no sense. Why help an enemy become strong again?" "Because humans don't just learn from victory. They learn from everyone and everything." The scientist pulled up more data. "See these records? After every major conflict, they gathered knowledge from both sides. They took enemy technologies and improved them. They studied different cultures and combined their best ideas. They turned former enemies into allies. The records showed more than just warfare. They revealed how humans had taken their harsh world's challenges and turned them into opportunities. They saw how humans had learned to fly by watching birds, then took that knowledge to reach space. They discovered how humans had turned deadly radiation into medical tools, powerful poisons into life-saving medicines." "Sir," a young analyst called out, "you need to see their entertainment records. These movies and games, they're not just for pleasure. They're like training simulations. They constantly imagine new challenges, new threats, new ways things could go wrong. Then they imagine solutions." The Admiral watched as more data poured in. The humans had a concept they called science fiction, stories about things that didn't exist yet. But these weren't just fantasies. Many of their imagined technologies had become real. They dreamed of something, then found ways to build it. "The Thunderchild itself proves this," the chief scientist explained. "It's not just a warship. It's everything humans learned from their history, all their combined knowledge, turned into something new. The reason we can't predict what it will do next is because it's designed to do things nobody has thought of yet." As if to emphasize this point, new sensor readings showed the Thunderchild doing something extraordinary. The human ship had found a small comet and was somehow using its ice trail to mask its energy signature. They were literally hiding in the comet's wake, using a natural phenomenon in a way no Council ship had ever considered. "Admiral, The communication officer called out, "We're picking up internal transmissions from the human ship. They're not afraid. The crew is treating this like a puzzle to be solved. Listen." They heard Commander Reed's voice speaking to his crew. "All right, team. We've got the best minds humanity could train, the most advanced ship we could build, and a whole lot of space to work with. Let's show them why humans never play chess the same way twice." The Admiral's scales darkened as he finally understood. The warning about human danger had been right, but for the wrong reasons. These humans weren't dangerous because they were aggressive. They were dangerous because they were endlessly creative, constantly learning, and absolutely fearless in the face of the unknown. "Sir," the chief scientist said quietly, "I don't think we can beat them. Not because they're stronger, but because every move we make teaches them something new. They're not just fighting us. They're learning from us. And the more we fight, the more they learn." Admiral Stone stared at the screen showing Earth's history, seeing how this species had turned every disaster into an opportunity, every setback into a lesson, every enemy into a potential friend. The Thunder Child wasn't just running from them. It was giving them a chance to understand what humanity really was. The warning lights still flashed on his console, but now they seemed to be warning of something far more significant than a single dangerous ship. They had stumbled upon a species that had turned adaptability itself into an art form, a civilization that saw the impossible not as a barrier, but as tomorrow's breakthrough waiting to happen. The Council fleet's pursuit came to a sudden halt when the Thunderchild did something completely unexpected. It stopped running. The human ship turned around, facing its pursuers in what seemed like a suicidal move. But Admiral Stone had learned enough about humans to know this was no suicide mission. "All ships, maximum shields," he ordered, his scales rippling with nervous energy. "Whatever they're planning, be ready for anything." The Thunderchild hung in space before them, its hull still shimmering with the energy it had absorbed from their previous attacks. But something was different. The ship's surface was changing, reorganizing itself in ways their sensors couldn't quite understand. "Admiral," the chief scientist called out, her voice trembling with excitement. "They're using everything they learned during the chase. Everything. Look at their hull configuration. They're mimicking our own shield frequencies." Commander Reed's voice came through all their communication channels at once. "Admiral Stone, your pursuit has given us time to study your technology in detail. We want to show you something interesting we discovered about your shield systems." The Thunderchild released a pulse of energy, not a weapon, but a precise match for the Council ship's shield harmonics. Every vessel in the pursuit fleet suddenly found their shields vibrating in an unusual pattern. "They figured out our shield resonance frequencies," the chief scientist gasped. "They didn't just study our technology. They found a way to improve it." The human ship's next move proved her right. It fired a series of low-power energy pulses, each one perfectly timed to the shield vibrations. The Council ship's protective barriers didn't break. Instead, they began to strengthen, drawing power from the carefully calibrated pulses. "What are they doing?" Admiral Stone demanded, watching as his ship's shield strength increased beyond their normal maximum capacity. "They're showing us how to make our shields better," the scientist replied in awe. "The resonance pattern they're using, it's more efficient than our current system. They took our basic shield design and found a way to improve it in just a few hours of study." The Thunderchild's demonstration wasn't finished. Its hull shifted again, and suddenly it was broadcasting on frequencies that matched the Council's sensor systems perfectly. Every ship in the fleet received a clear, detailed technical analysis of their own systems, complete with suggestions for improvements. "This is what humans do," Commander Reed explained, his voice now coming through with perfect clarity. "We don't just learn how things work, we figure out how they could work better. Every piece of technology can be improved, every system can be refined. Your pursuit gave us the perfect opportunity to study your ships in action." Admiral Stone watched as his tactical display filled with data, not threats, but innovations. The humans had taken every bit of Council technology they'd encountered and found ways to enhance it. They weren't just surviving the chase. They were using it as a research opportunity. The chief scientist was practically dancing with excitement as she analyzed the data. "Admiral, these improvements, they're brilliant. They're combining principles we never thought could work together. They've found ways to make our engines more efficient, our sensors more accurate, our shields more resilient." But the Thunderchild's most impressive display was yet to come. The human ship began to move in a complex pattern, and suddenly every piece of space debris, every stray energy field, every natural phenomenon in the area seemed to work in concert with its movements. They're not just using technology, the scientists realized. They're working with the natural laws of space itself. Look how they're using gravitational fields to enhance their maneuvers, how they're channeling background radiation to boost their sensors. Commander Reed's final message cut through their amazement. "Admiral, this chase has taught us much about your civilization. We've learned how your ships work, how your crews think, how your technology functions. But we hope we've taught you something too. That humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our ships. It's our endless drive to understand, improve, and innovate. Every challenge you present us with becomes an opportunity to learn and grow stronger." The Council fleet hung in space, their improved shields humming with new power, their sensors working better than ever before, all thanks to the very ship they had been trying to capture. Admiral Stone's warning displays still flashed their message about human danger, but now they seemed to be celebrating rather than warning, celebrating the discovery of a species that could turn any situation, even a desperate chase, into a chance for everyone to learn and improve. Just as Admiral Stone was processing the Thunderchild's impressive display of technological mastery, his sensor officer's voice cut through the command center with urgent news. Multiple ships appearing at the edge of our sensor range. Their energy signatures, they matched the Thunderchild's. The space around them lit up as more human vessels emerged from faster-than-light travel. Each ship was unique, showing the same innovative design philosophy as the Thunderchild, but with its own variations. The Council fleet found itself surrounded by a dozen human vessels, each one radiating the same incredible energy signatures. "Admiral." Commander Reed's voice came through, still maintaining its diplomatic tone. "Allow me to introduce the Earth Response Fleet. While the Thunderchild was studying your technology, we were also buying time for our reinforcements to arrive. But please notice, none of our ships have weapons targeted on your vessels." The Admiral's scales shifted through various colors as he assessed the situation. The human ships had positioned themselves in a complex formation that his tactical computers couldn't quite analyze. They weren't threatening, but their very presence demonstrated a level of coordination and technological sophistication that left him speechless. The chief scientist's instruments were going crazy as she studied the new arrivals. "Admiral, each of these ships is different. They've taken the same basic technologies and adapted them in unique ways. It's like they're conducting a dozen different experiments at once." One human ship had a hull that seemed to bend light around it, while another pulsed with energy fields that made it nearly impossible to scan. A third appeared to be using the very fabric of space as a propulsion system. Each vessel was a testament to humanity's drive to explore different possibilities. Commander Reed spoke again. "What you're seeing is how humans approach space exploration. Every ship is a laboratory, every crew is a research team, and every encounter is a chance to learn something new. We don't build ships to a single pattern. We experiment, innovate, and share what we learn." The Council's emergency communication channels suddenly lit up. The highest levels of leadership had been monitoring the situation, and now they had reached a decision that would change galactic history. A new voice, carrying the authority of the Council's High Commander, addressed both fleets. "This situation has revealed something unprecedented. These humans have demonstrated not just technological prowess, but wisdom in its application. In less than a day, they have improved our shield systems, enhanced our sensor capabilities, and shown us new ways to use technologies we've had for centuries. Admiral Stone watched as his tactical displays updated with new information. The human ships were now being reclassified in the Council's database. The warning message changed from dangerous, contain immediately, to advanced species, priority diplomatic contact. The High Commander continued, Commander Reed, your actions today have shown us that humanity's greatest weapon isn't your technology, it's your perspective. You see possibilities where we see limitations. You find connections where we see only barriers. Most importantly, you choose to share your discoveries rather than use them as weapons. The Thunderchild's hull shimmed one last time, but now it wasn't adapting for defense. It was creating a beautiful display of light and energy, a celebration of peaceful contact. The other human ships joined in, each adding its own unique pattern to the spectacle. The Council hereby recognizes humanity as a full spacefaring civilization, the High Commander declared. We look forward to learning from each other, to combining our knowledge and perspectives, and to facing the challenges of space exploration together. Commander Reed's response was characteristically humble. We accept this recognition with gratitude. Humans have always believed that the greatest adventures are the ones we share with others. Yes, we're dangerous, but not because we want to harm anyone. We're dangerous because we never stop asking what if and why not. We're dangerous because we see every challenge as an opportunity to grow, every problem as a puzzle to solve, and every new species as a potential friend to learn from. Admiral Stone looked at his console one last time. The warning lights were still there, but now they seemed to be glowing with a different meaning. The message, warning, unidentified warship approaching. It's human and dangerous, had become a reminder not of threat, but of potential. Humanity wasn't dangerous because they were hostile. They were dangerous because they represented something the galaxy had never seen before, a species that had turned curiosity itself into their greatest strength and innovation into their finest art.